I'll be speaking in English and you'll be hearing the interpretation in Spanish if you're on the Spanish channel, but the slide deck we do have in English and Spanish. And again, feel free to introduce yourselves, where you're calling from, and your connection to Head Start in the chat if you're willing. Great. So my name is Julia. I'm with the Coalition on Human Needs, which is a national group that does advocacy around policies that impact families and children. And I'm also with the Partnership for America's Children that has 50 member organizations in 40 states, including in Arizona, and does a lot of work on policies that support children. And so today I'm here to talk about the 2021 Expanded Child Tax Credit, known as the CTC, and its initials in English. And so sometimes I'll call it the Child Tax Credit, or CTC. The Child Tax Credit itself isn't new, but last year it was expanded. And that means now that 90% of kids approximately in the US are eligible. So if you're working in a Head Start, a large majority of the kids you're working with may very well be eligible for this. If you're a parent or another guardian, you may be able to claim this yourselves. So the child tax credit was previously $2,000, but now has increased to $3,600 per child under the age of 6, and up to $3,000 has increased up to $3,000 for children ages 6 through 17. A really important part of the expansion for the child tax credit of 2021 is that there's no minimum income requirement and that the credit is fully refundable. So what that means is if a family has no earned income or very low earned income, and they don't have they don't owe any taxes, they can still claim the credit and receive the full amount of that credit. And so what that means is that families who maybe in the past weren't eligible now are eligible for this credit. And so we just wanted to give a little bit of an example of the amount of money we're talking about. So if we took the example of a family with 1 adult and 3 kids, ages 4, 12, and 15, in total for the 2021 CTC, the family would receive $9,600. So almost $10,000 alone from this federal child tax credit. And they might, when they do their tax returns, be able to qualify for additional money through stimulus payments or other tax credits. So alone, a very significant amount of money, and potentially there's even more money on the table. So unfortunately, there are more than 4 million kids, and some people put this estimate significantly higher, but over 4 million children who are at risk of missing out on the child tax credit. And that's because these are children and families who have no or very low incomes, who are not typically required to file taxes. And they very well may not know that they need to file taxes this year in order to claim the child tax credit. And we know that in addition to filing, families who may not realize they have to file taxes, others may face certain concerns or questions related to immigration or other barriers to filing taxes or claiming these benefits. And so we're really looking to trusted community organizations like Head Start, like schools, like public benefits agencies that can communicate to families that this is a real credit and that families should claim it, and that there's a lot of money they can get. And I want to say at the outset, you don't have to be a tax expert to help families claim this credit, which is why we're kind of giving you the information you need. And so if you're here as a parent or another guardian, we hope this will be helpful to you to claim this credit, and that you can also use this to tell your friends and family members and neighbors. And if you are a Head Start staff, we hope this will give you the information you need to communicate this within your local Head Starts. So who's eligible for the expanded child tax credit? So adults can file and claim this credit if they have a social security number or an individual taxpayer identification number, also known as an ITIN, but children are required to have social security numbers. So parents who are undocumented but have kids with social security numbers can claim the full credit. And the dependent must be the adult's child, including adopted, grandchild, or stepchild, a younger sibling or step sibling, half sibling, or their descendant, or a foster child placed by a government agency. So what that means is if grandma's raising her grandkids, or if someone's raising their sister's children, then they can go ahead and claim this credit and benefit from it. The dependent must have lived with the adult in the US for more than half of the year, so half of 2021. There are some exceptions. For example, if a baby was born in December or November of last year, their family can still claim this credit. And the dependent could not have provided over half of their own support and must be considered a dependent for tax filing purposes. And I should have said at the outset that in addition to sending out the recording, we'll also send out these slides. So feel free to take screenshots and take notes, but you'll also get a copy of all this information, including the links that we share. So how do families claim the CTC? In 2021, most families automatically received advance payments, and these were either $250 or $300, depending on the age, per child per month from July through December. Many of you may have also received this. And so these monthly payments in total represented half of the 2021 child tax credit to which families are entitled. And now this year in 2022, everyone will need to file tax returns in order to receive either that second half, if they receive the advance payments, or the full amount of the 2021 CTC. We know some families, mostly those with no or very low incomes, or those facing other barriers to doing their taxes, may have missed out on the advance payments. It's not too late for them to get that full amount. So if they receive no monthly payments when they file their tax return, they'll actually receive that full amount. And I have this in Spanish on the next slide. I couldn't figure out how to format it all in one page, but this is a little bit of a timeline on what's happening with taxes, and this training is very timely. Our tax filing season began in January, and currently there are what are known as local volunteer income tax assistance sites open, which can help people file taxes for free. And the tax filing deadline that many of you might be aware of is April 18th, which is right around the corner. But we want to say that it's important that individuals who are not required to file taxes, so a head of household, for example, a single mother with income below $18,800, or married couples filing jointly with incomes below $25,100, they can continue to file after April 18th in order to claim this credit. So we're definitely wanting to get out the word in the next 2 weeks. There's a real sense of urgency. People are paying attention. So this is a great time to tell people to go ahead and file their taxes. It's also when there are more VITA sites open and more support. But if someone can't get it done by April 18th, for those who are not required to file, and even those who are required to file but are owed a refund from the IRS, it's likely that they can file and they won't be penalized. And so we still want to be telling families this spring and the summer and even next school year that it's not too late for them to claim this tax credit. And in fact, if they've missed past years of other tax credits or refunds, they can file their past 3 years worth of returns and get the money that they're owed. Today we'll be focusing on sort of ways that people can get support, but in May, there'll be the opening of a simplified online filing portal. And so this will be a tool for people who are not required to file, who can't for some reason get through the full tax filing process, and they'll be able to use this to claim the child tax credit and potentially the third stimulus payment from 2021. So this is not yet open, and unfortunately we don't know the date exactly, but I'll share a link at the end where you can receive updates from us. And once the online portal is up, we'll be making sure that there are new resources and new training so that you all can use that to get money or help families. But now, and including after April 18th, another option is for families to go ahead and file that full tax return and claim this money. And the online filing portal will close in fall 2022. This is in Spanish. So free tax filing, again, there are what are called local VITA sites. And if you're here from a specific place and you're trying to figure out where is some, you want to go in person or send someone in person, you can click this first link and we'll send all of these after. So feel free to copy this down now, but we'll send it out again. And so if you go to this getyourrefund.org/VITA providers, you can actually put in your zip code and find a local site that can help you in person. You can also go or send families to this Get Your Refund /azheadstart. And there you'll be able to, thanks Jessica for sharing that, that's great. When you go there, you'll get several options. So the first option is that you can access free do-it-yourself tax filing services. So if you feel pretty comfortable on your phone or on your computer, it's mobile friendly, it's in English and Spanish, you'll actually be able to access those services. You can also get free virtual tax filing assistance, including the opportunity to discuss this with the tax specialist over the phone. And if you think that someone can, or someone has said they don't want to go through the full tax filing and they want to be able to use that simplified filing portal known as Get CTC, they can also sign up at the link that Jessica put in the chat, that getyourrefund.org/azheadstart, and they'll be alerted when that portal opens in May. So the good thing is if you're supporting families, you don't have to know where to send everyone in specific. If they need in person, you can use that VITA finder to find something local. But if they're comfortable using their phone or computer for more information, you can just go ahead and send them to that Arizona, that getyourrefund.org/azheadstart, and they'll be able to find all the resources that they need in order to file. All right. And for anyone who's joined a little late, I just wanted to say, if you're wanting to listen to this in English, you should see a globe at the bottom of the screen. You can choose English, and if you're wanting to listen in Spanish, you can go ahead and choose Spanish. I'm just gonna say that in Spanish in case someone's on this channel. Si alguien está llegando un poco tarde, puede escoger abajo en la pantalla un globo donde dice interpretación y puede escoger ahí inglés o español. And so for free, continuing with the free tax assistance, there are also what are known as low-income taxpayer clinics. These are clinics that are available if someone has a dispute with the IRS. So for most people, they'll be fine kind of filing their tax returns in the typical way, but some people might run into trouble. And so you all don't have to be experts in navigating that, but really pointing people to the best place. And so when you go to this link, you can go ahead and put in the state of Arizona and see which are close. Unfortunately, they're not always in more rural areas. And so if you're really not sure where to point someone, we'll include our email, and we're happy to work with you and with Jessica at the Head Start Association to figure out where's the best place to point families. We know that many of you might have questions about obtaining an individual taxpayer identification number or an ITIN. So again, while kids need a social security number to claim this, the dependents, the adults can file with the social security number or ITIN. And typically this is a two-step process of preparing your ITIN application and then filing it with the tax return. And then you'll submit those two things together. You'll get the ITIN approval, and then later you'll get the money that you're owed through your tax return. One option for getting copies certified as part of the ITIN application is to send in your personal documents. But we don't recommend this because it can take a number of weeks, if not months, to get those back. And so we really encourage people to go in person, and I've put some links where you can find those options. Again, if you're somewhere more rural and you're not seeing options, definitely feel free to reach out and we can ask around with partners in Arizona about other options. And if you're using that Get Your Refund link that Jessica put in the chat, there's also the option of indicating that you need support getting your ITIN, and they'll help direct you to a VITA site that can help you with the application. And I have this information in Spanish as well. And I know I'm saying a lot, so don't hesitate to put questions in the chat, and I'll get to those as I go or at the end, but don't feel free to jump in and put anything in the chat if you have any questions. I wanted to know, while we're focusing on the child tax credit today, there are other credits that families might be able to claim. And the good news is that when they go ahead and file their tax return, their full tax return, then they'll be able to claim any other credits to which they're entitled, including the earned income tax credit and the child and dependent care credit. And so we have a resource toolkit, and we'll share that, and you can learn more about those credits. But luckily, the process isn't different. They don't have to go somewhere different for each of these credits. They can go ahead and file a tax return and get all the money that they're entitled to. And I've included here the documents checklist in English and in Spanish. So before going to a VITA appointment to do your taxes, we really encourage you, or if you're helping families, to look at this checklist and make sure they have everything they need, because you don't want them and you don't want yourself kind of going across town more than once when you've forgotten a document. And we just wanted to go over some common questions. And then of course we want to hear your questions, but one of the common questions we receive is, does receiving the CTC impact other public benefits? And getting this credit will not change any federally funded public benefits that your family or families you're working with receive, including Social Security or SNAP or WIC or others. And another common question is, will receiving this affect someone's ability to get a green card? And so no, under current law, receiving the CTC or other tax credits will not affect someone's immigration status or their ability to get a green card, or affect the immigration status of those in their household. And use of tax credits is not considered as in the public charge determination by USCIS. And so we know that this can really be a barrier to families accessing this benefit. And it's so important that we communicate that people are entitled to this money and they can go ahead and apply for it without concerns connected to public charge. And so what's so important is that if you're on this call, that you've claimed this money yourself, but also that you talk to others. And really, I think for all of you that are at Head Starts, there's such an opportunity to connect with really thousands of families across the state. I think that there was something like, now I'm not remembering the number, but there are tens of thousands of families in Arizona at risk of missing out on this credit. And so you all can play a real role in connecting families with this credit. And in many ways, the best thing might be just kind of talking directly to families, giving them a flyer saying, hey, I don't know if you filed your tax returns, but you clearly have kids because you're at Head Start and you're likely eligible for this credit. Here's where you can go online or in person to get help. And if you're a parent and you're talking to other parents, this is a great chance to share that you claimed this credit for which 90% of kids are eligible, and really encourage others. We know there's a lot of fear about this being a scam or there being negative consequences, and sometimes it's best for parents and guardians to hear from others. And so we'll go ahead and share our toolkit after. I'll send that to Jessica. Well, I'll send it to everyone who registered via email, and feel free to share that out. But in that toolkit, there are sample text messages and robocalls and emails in English, Spanish, and I believe 8 other or 9 other languages. And so if you work at a Head Start and you have texting capacity, you can go ahead and text 100 families all at once. And you don't have to write that from scratch. We actually have that information in there. This is just in Spanish. If you have a hold line or maybe a waiting room message or video message, you can record a message about this for families. We have posters and flyers, and so this is great to send home with kids, and to post in a kind of in any public spaces to have these posters hanging. And again, we have versions of all of this, and we're happy to customize. So if you want it to be specific to your Head Start, we can go ahead and help make that happen. And other options, these are just some other options. I'll kind of move through some of these just in the interest of time. We know some of you might have regular newsletter to parents and other guardians, and so we have sample newsletter and scripts within our toolkit. We know that social media might not be enough alone, but that it's good to post on social media and word of mouth and texting or emailing, and so we do have sample social media as well. And some of you might have parent volunteers or parent councils or staff who can call through parents within the Head Start and family members, or you might have peer-to-peer texting capabilities. And so again, you can take any of our samples and go ahead and use those. We know that some Head Starts and schools are hosting Q&As with a tax specialist or immigration attorney or other subject matter expert. And so you can host those in person or Zoom or Facebook Live. If you don't want to, you can also feel free to use this recording, which we'll have in English and Spanish, and just take this link and post it on your local Head Start social media or in your email newsletters so people can watch this on their own time. We also know some Head Starts want to do a little more and actually help people schedule their VITA appointments or get their documents together. So that's another option. So here's the link for the outreach toolkit, and we'll make sure to send that out. And this is just a long list of everything that it includes. Most of our resources are in English and Spanish, and many are in more languages as well. If you're working in another language and you need support in that, just reach out and we can hopefully get something translated. And again, this is our, and once we go off screen, I can post this in the chat, but this is our sign up for our email newsletter. So again, I mentioned that in May, there'll be some changes about how you can claim this credit. And so if you want to hear kind of upcoming resources or any trainings we're scheduling, please sign up and you'll receive these messages. And then finally, this is my email address, and I'll put it in the chat, so you can definitely reach out to me if you have any questions. If you are working as a staff or you're a director of a Head Start or a parent volunteer and you want to make sure other families are getting this, like I said, please use all our resources, use this recording and share that out. But if you're trying to figure out how to customize your materials, or you have questions, or you want to know where to refer people, don't hesitate to email me. We also know some people want to know the impact of their outreach and, you know, how many families are participating, so we can always support by helping you get your own URL as well.